Hello, welcome back. My name is Jay Coogs. I'm an artist and producer. For those of you who are new to this channel, I'm going to be hopping on talking about my experience, my process, and just my general insights into this thing that we call the modern music industry. Today, I want to talk about something that I've navigated in my experience of being a professional music person, and that subject is songwriting, specifically being a professional songwriter, which I think is something that a lot of people aspire to. We all kind of have images in our heads of the Max Martins of the world or the Diane Warrens, the people who are behind the scenes who write the hits and who can sustain themselves through that. They get to wake up every day and write music, and they don't have to deal with the hassle of actually being in front of the camera, being the person that everyone sees. For someone as introverted and generally hesitant to put myself in front of people as me, you can imagine that vision was something that really appealed to me. So starting out, that was really the path that I took. Now, ultimately, my goal has always been to be an independent artist. I kind of saw songwriting as something that was maybe going to help me with two things. One was just get better at making music. And the other one, of course, was this very practical sense of, well, being an independent artist in general is a very long-term investment. I need something more practical. I need something that will pay the bills. And maybe it sounds absurd in hindsight that I saw songwriting as that potential avenue. But at least in the popular mind, this has always been something. It's always been a path. But what I realized very quickly as I kind of infiltrated the LA songwriter scene is that things had changed very dramatically. It seemed to me, just through my own experiences, that this path that we've all kind of known about, we've all kind of heard about, people making a living this way, this path, it didn't seem to be working. It didn't seem to be making sense just from what I was seeing on the ground. And what I was seeing on the ground is a lot of people like me who maybe moved to LA with the sense of I want to be involved in the music industry. I'm not really ready yet, or I don't even want to necessarily be an artist in my own right, but I write songs and I want to work with artists, and I know that this is a path. So there's a lot of people out there still holding on to that vision and who really want it. And the modus operandi is aspiring songwriters will get together, maybe 3 or 4 in a room. There'll be a producer there as well. So picture 4 or 5 people in a room all together. They go in the studio. Sometimes it's someone's bedroom studio. Sometimes it's an actual rented studio that people are paying money for out of their own pocket. Not to mention the actual time that they are investing in this process. And they're getting into this room with the objective of coming out with 2 or 3 songs that they can then pitch to artists, or maybe make a song specifically with the intent of licensing it for some commercial or something like that. So I would be in these rooms and it was great. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be writing, I wanted to be learning, and ultimately working with people in a professional capacity. And in that way, it was super invaluable. I started writing very consistently in a way that I hadn't done before. I certainly got better at writing and seeing how producers work and building a track from scratch and all of that stuff. It was great. But then, and maybe you see where this is going, 1 month passed and 2 months and 3 months and 4 months, and the novelty wore off. And I started looking around and just kind of wondering, like, wait a minute, how is anyone actually making money here? And I started investigating, and as I did, I started to realize, oh, no one is really making money here. And this continued. My general confusion around how people are actually receiving any income from these efforts. And let's be clear, this is labor. It's always weird when people talk about music and music work as something separate from labor, but at the end of the day, it is. We were working, and I was definitely not seeing a return on investment in a financial perspective. Hanging out around professional songwriters, I think, that was obviously something that everyone knew. You're kind of going in and volunteering your time without any upfront payment on the hopes that, oh, someone picks this up, it gets recorded by an artist, it gets played on the radio, or someone purchases a record and then you receive the money, you receive the royalties Or in the case of when I was doing this stuff, sync licensing was a huge thing that everyone was very excited about. And everyone was very excited to get a song picked up by, I don't know, Nestle or something, or made into a commercial, and then you can receive a big sum of money in that way. And everyone was kind of chasing that, but none of that struck me as anything resembling a sustainable business practice or anything that you would ever be able to rely on sustainably. And then what really drove this point home is, I was working with people like me who were just starting out and certainly had no big hits or anything like that. When I started seeing actual hit songwriters saying the same thing, saying, oh, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Famous example is Lauren Christie, who wrote a bunch of hits for Avril Lavigne and Dua Lipa and a bunch of other people, saying we should call for a national funeral for this profession. Because at the end of the day, with the way that the economics are, the way that things have changed, it literally does not make any sense. It is not viable. It's not viable. And there's real reasons for that we can point to. It's the way that the music industry has evolved over time. Songwriters used to be able to make a living off of album cuts because people would purchase physical albums, and then their share of those purchases would have a much greater significance. The way things were, let's say, in the 60s through to the 90s, before the Napster era, and then this bizarre streaming hellscape that we currently live in, during that period of time, it is true, there was a viable financial path to the kind of songwriter who maybe isn't the hugest, but if he or she gets an album cut, that can sustain them. It created a kind of middle class of songwriters. That is, for all intents and purposes, dead. Certainly not the only person saying this. There's plenty of bigger people with much more experience and much more credibility who have also echoed the exact same sentiment. This realization forced me to reckon with my own personal situation. After all, I had started out pursuing professional songwriting kind of as a hedge against the potentially more risky act of just committing to being an artist. So what was I doing then if songwriting as a profession for anyone but the 1% of songwriters arguably had stopped being that type of path? It really forced me to question, what is preventing me right now from just doing my own thing? In a lot of ways, this goes back to the point of my last video, which was all about how in an age of AI music and now AI songwriting, that's a whole other can of worms. And I don't believe that AI is just going to magically replace real songwriters. I don't think that's going to happen, but it certainly makes this ecosystem that I'm describing even harsher. It makes it an even harsher business reality for this model, this sense that you can just be a behind the scenes person and no one needs to know who you are, and you can just write songs for other people and make a living that way. I think that model, while it has existed in the past, is going to be a thing of the past. And the sooner that people realize that, I think the sooner they can get closer to forming some sort of business model that actually makes sense. We're living in a world now where even people who have the stated aim of just being a songwriter truly do not want to be an artist whatsoever. The ones who are actually making a living, the ones who are actually successful in any type of financial way, are the ones who are putting themselves in front of the camera, the ones who are showing people exactly what is going down. Even a behind the scenes person in today's ecosystem, we need to know who you are. And I know this is not what a lot of people want to hear. I've certainly been grappling with it, but it's the conclusion that I've come to through years of just observation and experience of what's actually working. At the end of the day, everyone knows that the modern music industry is broken. Everyone knows that songwriters are not getting a fair share of the cut of money that people are making from music. Everyone knows this. For those of us who want to be music professionals, who want to do this for a living, we have two choices. We can continue to subscribe to old models that don't work in the hope that something changes, that something perhaps being legislation, government intervention, whatever it is, The Music Modernization Act was passed in 2018. That was a huge win. But there is so much more to do. And I personally am not interested in waiting around for Congress to do the right thing. I'm not banking my career on that. And so the other option, until these systemic changes happen, people need to change their approach to actually match the reality of what's going on. The good news is that for people like me who wear many hats in the music making process and have many different goals, I still like writing for other artists. It's still something that I enjoy, and it's still something I would love to make money doing. But I also am an artist in my own right, and I'm also a producer who produces other artists and myself. For those of us who have a varied interest spanning different elements of the music world, this is a strength, not a weakness. We used to live in a world of specialists, a place where someone got really good at doing one specific thing. That's certainly how a lot of music was made in the past. We had Tin Pan Alley, we had the Brill Building, we had Songwriters, and that was all they did. They just made songs, they churned out the hits, they gave it to someone else, rinse and repeat. Today's songwriter is also someone who should produce. Today's songwriter is also someone probably who has a persona and is known, and their identity is a part of their songwriting, and people are aware of them. This reflects growing trends across the world and across the economy. This is not just music, but music has a way of being very extreme in the way that these trends manifest, and certainly this is how they're shaking out right now. But I think in another respect, it has forced me at least to be more honest about my own goals, my own skills, and what I even want to do. Because in a world where there's no rules, in a world where the old model has been completely tossed out the window, it really is up to you to determine, what do I actually want to do and how do we make it happen? I've spent a long time sort of fitting myself into some sort of box that I assumed is the way that the music industry works, and more, the people who are succeeding are the ones who are building their own formula. So that's it. I feel like I left that on an uplifting note. Yeah. I hope that maybe my thoughts and hearing about my experiences is helpful to someone who's also figuring their path out. If you like this video, consider subscribing. I will be back here for more takes, for more thoughts, and eventually I will be showing my actual music making process as well. I know this was more of a me sitting and talking video, but more to come. Bye.